Hello, my loves. Welcome to the Fuck Trauma podcast with me, Candice Tamara. This is the podcast your inner child wishes you had sooner, and my inner child feels so fulfilled sharing it with you so that you can have the secure relationships you deserve. Okay, where do we begin on this episode? With this episode, I really wanted to teach some of the foundations. At this point, I had a severe anxious attachment style. Severe. I had physical abandonment from my dad, leaving 10 days before my third birthday, never ever to be seen or heard from ever again. And I had emotional abandonment and neglect from my mum, who was, had health issues and addiction issues and things like that. So I had a really severe abandonment wound and anxious attachment style, and experienced the toxic relationships, the narcissistic relationships, the avoidance, absolutely everything you could ever possibly imagine and put a label to. That was me. And on top of that, now, over the years, I've worked with many, many, many clients, or people have gone through my Anxious and Secure in Love program, my signature program, and they've moved into secure, healthy, happy relationships, or they're getting married, they're having babies, and or even more importantly, they're just more secure and loving within themselves, and the relationships will come from that. All of it is an incredible win. And I'm deep into this work now, and I wanted to share with you some things about anxious attachment style that you probably don't hear anywhere else, because I don't just teach it from the perspective of you have an anxious attachment style, their avoidance, this is it. Maybe years ago I did used to teach it from that place, but as I have naturally developed my own work and understanding of the way the world works, the laws of the universe, and as I've transformed my own attachment style and self-concept, it's a lot deeper than just giving you the identity of you have an anxious attachment style. And I want to share with you what that looks like to actually heal it, because it is something you have the power to do. So your anxious attachment style is not who you are. I know that we identify and we label ourselves with these things, but it's actually not who you are. It is a state. And when I mean a state, I mean it is a state of being. Your state is created by your subconscious beliefs about yourself. That is what creates your state. Your assumptions about yourself and assumptions about love and other people. And those subconscious beliefs are created in childhood. So naturally, your anxious attachment style does come from your relationships in childhood, your attachment to your caregivers. And with that, your experiences, you're creating subconscious beliefs, whether you realize it or not. Most times we don't realize we have them, and it can happen in so many different ways, but it imprints us, I'm not prioritized, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not chosen, love is not safe for me. I have to people please to be loved. I have to shrink myself to be loved. There's so many different ways that it can happen, and I won't go into the ways that it happens, but essentially it creates these beliefs in us, and that forms the state of anxious attachment style. Secure people have the beliefs that are attached to a secure person. That is the only difference. It is like you are two different places. You are one city, anxious attachment Ville, and the other city is secure Ville. And to get from anxious attachment Ville to secure Ville, there are a few things you can do that allow you to go to that state of secure state. It's a lot simpler than we realize. And I wish I'd have known this years ago, but it does take work and understanding this, but it is a lot easier. But what you are simply doing is you are reprogramming your state, your subconscious state, and your nervous system from anxious attachment Ville to secure attachment style. So the first thing you do with that is your belief system. You uncover what your subconscious beliefs are, and that's not always easy to see. It took me a long time to realize that. It's not always easy to understand, like that is what's playing out. And the best way to look at this is like your triggers. Your triggers are showing you that you have unconscious, subconscious beliefs there. You know, your relationships are showing you a reflection of your subconscious beliefs. So, and then of course, as an anxious attachment style, you have core ones like I'm not chosen, love is inconsistent for me, I have to earn connection, distance, any silence means danger, that they're abandoning me, that they're going to pull away, like people don't stay, that like I'm not worthy of commitment. Oh my God, the list is endless. Okay. So these are the belief systems of the state of an anxious attachment style. So you uncover what they are. And for some of you, you're going to have different ones. You're going to have those core ones, but you might have different ones, you know, them, depending on your experiences that you might have had, whether it be something that happened in childhood that gave you an imprint of something in particular that is more tailored to you, or even, you know, in your relationships, when you went into a relationship, you might be, you know, there might be something that happened and it's giving you this belief. And they are all these subconscious beliefs. It's all this story that is running under the surface that you don't realize, that is literally creating your experiences. It is literally manifesting out, and it is controlling your behavior, your energy, your everything. Okay. So the first thing you do is you always get awareness of that. That is why in my programs, or in Anxious to Secure and Love, my signature program, there is that element of like awareness. And I'm a big fan of journaling, asking those questions, because within that, you cannot change something you cannot see. So when you do that kind of work, or when my masterclasses, you do those things, it brings to the surface the subconscious beliefs that are running underneath. And that is the beauty of it. That is why it's so freaking amazing. And when you do that, when you are aware of them, then you can start to reprogram them. So you reprogram them with repetition. So for instance, as an anxious attachment style, you might have the belief, my needs don't matter. Okay. You're over here in anxious attachment Ville, and my needs don't matter. Now you want to get to secure Ville that has my needs do matter. Okay. Now it is simply the repetition. My needs do matter. My needs do matter. My needs do matter. You know, you're reprogramming those subconscious beliefs. Now it takes a moment, because you're making that journey from anxious to secure, and there is that bit in the middle that can be a little bit messy if you don't have the right tools to feel supported in those times, and make it a little bit less messier. But every time you start to affirm something new for yourself, you are creating a new neural pathway, and it is creating that pathway into secure Ville. But it does take the repetition and the consistency. So that is the first thing I do. That's why I always teach that in all of my programs, your belief system. That is why I talk about EFT tapping so much, because that is reprogramming your subconscious belief at the same time. And that's why it's so effective. It's shortening your time span of the in-between between anxious to secure. You're moving to secure a lot quicker with that. And that brings me into the point 2. The other thing that you need to do is your nervous system. Your anxious attachment style is held in your body. That's the anxiety you feel, okay? You know, when they haven't texted back and you go, or they're pulling away. It's that feeling in your body, okay? It's the anxiety, it's the hypervigilance, constantly scanning. Oh my God, they must be talking to someone else. They're losing interest. The urgency for like reassurance all the time. You know, I need them to tell me how they feel all the time. The fear that you feel when they go silent, or that you haven't heard from them for a certain amount of time, that, you know, that feeling in you that makes you want to people please, so you stay a bit quieter. You know, for instance, if you've expressed your need and then they start to blame you or something, and you start to be like, oh, maybe it is my fault, it's okay, I don't need that. All of that is that retraction in your body that is in your nervous system, is stored in your nervous system. And until you do something about that, this is why I say you cannot think your way out of your anxious attachment style. And I will even say here, talk therapy is great for having some, you know, awareness. It's the first piece of the awareness, but it doesn't necessarily reprogram your nervous system or your belief system. And without that, what will happen is you'll have all the awareness in the world. I had all the awareness in the world, but nothing changed. You know, if they started to pull back, my body would go into a state of panic. I would react from that place, you know, or they weren't texting me, and then suddenly I'm giving it the meaning, oh my God. And so talking about it doesn't do enough. It like gives you the awareness, but it doesn't reprogram you. It doesn't take you on that journey from anxious to secure. And that is the difference. These are the things that do reprogram your belief system and reprogram your nervous system, so that if they haven't texted back within an hour or however long it is, your nervous system doesn't start to go like this. It doesn't start to go crazy. It just feels neutral to it. Oh, okay, they must be busy, because that's all that's happening here. And that is the difference between a secure person. A secure person doesn't fear abandonment. They don't fear the rejection like that. Their nervous system isn't wired from childhood for that. So if a person doesn't respond in a certain amount of time, their nervous system doesn't go into a state of panic. They might be like, oh, that's unusual, I hope they're okay. But then they're not giving it the meaning that this person has lost interest, they're ghosting me, they're gone, whatever it is. And that is all that's happening there, is because those traumatic experiences, those imprints, are stored in your body. So that is the trick with reprogramming that. And that's why EFT is so effective with that, along with other tools. I use inner child healing in my method a lot as well, and anxious to secure, and in my masterclasses I will use that, because that is literally changing the past when you do that, because you are going to the core of that little child inside of you that is the one that's really reacting to them not texting back. They're the one that is so scared of them not texting back because they feel that abandonment. So you can go to them and be like, it's okay, you're safe, you're safe, you're so safe, everything's fine, you are so loved, when you do that, your whole body relaxes and it feels so good. You are literally reprogramming your nervous system in that moment to feel safe and expanded. And it's amazing. These are the things, these are the tools that work. And when you're in that place, when you're rewiring your belief system, your nervous system is feeling safe and you're becoming that safety. The third point is that you do the embodiment of the secure person. So now, you've started your journey, you're in the middle, and you're going to Secureville, you're nearly there. And so naturally you start to take the decisions and you start to act from that place. And it gets easier to do that because you've changed your belief system and you've changed your nervous system to feel secure. So it gets easier for you to then make the decisions from a person that is secure, to act from that place, to see a new perspective from that place, to not take it as, oh, they haven't texted back, so I must have done something wrong. You start to see, oh, they haven't texted back. Oh, okay. Anyway, I'm going to go on with my what I'm doing. You stop giving it the meaning that your anxious attachment lens and beliefs have given it, because you've been in that state, and you start to see it in a different way. You start to see yourself in a different way, and you start to experience things in that way. You start to, have relationships that are secure because they are just reflecting you now, and you're able to set boundaries without panicking or guilt. You're able to communicate without collapsing, and fawning, oh no, I didn't mean it, it's okay, it's my fault, or attacking them, being really defensive. You're able to have really neutral conversations. You're able to choose yourself without choosing them, putting themselves first, and without that guilt there. You're able to, let let that action speak instead of chasing answers. You get to observe, you get to be secure and stay in yourself. You're not, so dysregulated that you're now desperate to control outcomes, and you're micromanaging situations. You're no longer doing that now, because you've found that safety within yourself. Your nervous system is now feeling safe, and you're feeling it, and you're able to respond differently to things instead of reacting to it. Instead of that anxious reaction, you're now able to respond in a different way and not self-abandon. There's so many different ways that happen, and that's the embodiment piece. That's why I always, in my method, and in Anxious to Secure, and even in my masterclasses, I always teach that way. That's why when I created Anxious to Secure, I didn't just teach you the belief system and the nervous system. It's no good rewiring your anxious attachment style, but then you're secure and you don't really know how to set boundaries. You don't know what to do with triggers. You don't know how to communicate. You don't even know what your needs are, because you've been in anxious attachment, Ville, for your whole life. Right? You've been in that state for so long, and then you move to secure state, and you have to know that embodiment of what does that look like? How does a secure person communicate? And at first you're a little bit like Bambi on ice, slipping around a little bit. You're finding your feet because you're in a completely new place. You've moved to this completely new state. But then the more you practice that, the more you practice choosing yourself or setting that boundary or expressing yourself, you get so much better for it, and you feel so much better for it. And that is that embodiment piece, because you are retraining yourself and your nervous system in that time, and your beliefs. You're retraining your new identity to be like, it is safe for me to choose me. It's safe for me to be secure. This is who I am now in that identity. And when you do that, you will get everything that lives in that identity. You'll get the secure relationships. You'll get, everything reflected back to you, the treatment of that. If anything's ever teaching you that you don't need to do these things, I would be very aware, because awareness is not enough. You know what you have, you know what you're experiencing, you have that's one thing, but it's not going to reprogram you. That is why people, will come to me or they'll do anxious secure, and they've been in therapy for years and they don't make the changes that they do when they start to do this work. It's because of the reprogramming that you're doing. You are literally taking up a new state and a new identity, and it is life-changing. And when you do that, things get amazing. That is what changes everything. You are just changing a state, and you have that power to do that. So if there's just one thing I want you to take from this, it's that your anxious attachment style isn't who you are. It's just a state that you learned, and a state you can unlearn. And the relationships, the triggers, the patterns, they're feedback. They're not fate. You can change them. I've changed them. You can too. And when you change your assumptions, you regulate your nervous system, you change your beliefs, and you embody the secure version of you, everything around you changes to match it. If you want to go deep into this work, I have masterclasses where you can actually experience the secure self method yourself, my EFT tapping, and you can start shifting it in real time, or my Anxious to Secure and Love program. If you are ready to take it on, it teaches you step by step everything you need. I'll link them in the show notes. But either way, from this moment, just remember, you don't heal love by chasing love. You heal love by becoming the version of you who already has it. You move from anxious Ville to secure Ville. So let me know what lands from this episode. And as ever, I love hearing from you guys. If this podcast is hitting for you, please rate it on your platforms. It helps other people find it. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.